If you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, who will they be?
Okay. Kobe Bryant.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Shaka.
For real?
Yes.
Did you attend his event?
No, because I was in Toronto. I wasn't able to attend.
Okay.
Paying me. Maybe Obama.
Oh, Obama.
Maybe
Oh, nice.
Obama,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
It's a tough one. What about you?
Whitney Houston's number 1. Tori Kelly.
Okay.
I just really like her.
Yeah.
And Gabriel Union.
Oh, yeah.
I admire her. I don't know why. I just... If your life was a movie, what would the title be?
All smiles.
All smiles. Oh, I think I see that. It was kind of part of your name. I don't know if it still is, but yeah. Yeah, you're always smiling.
Always.
That's a good thing, actually.
It is a good thing. Yeah.
What is your guilty pleasure?
Eating carbs. I love eating carbs.
Any specific, is it rice or anything as long as it's carbs?
I just, like, give me the carbs. Give me pasta, rice, pizza, all the junk food. Give it to me.
Nice.
No judgment here, just a friendly ear. Tune in every day, bring your worries near. Life Couch Show, let the heartbeats flow. With Fade, we heal and grow. Life on the couch with Fade. Talk it all out, set your mind free. Life on the couch, stories we share. Fade.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Life Couch with Fade. Ooh. Here we talk about things that happen to the everyday people. We discuss life issues and experiences. We do this because we want people out there to understand that they're not alone in the struggle of life. We hope that a person or two can relate with the things that we talk about and even learn 1 or 2 things. Remember, it's a no judgment zone. Feel free to add your comments, share your ideas, or express your opinions in the comment section. And on this episode, we have a very beautiful, eloquent, hardworking lady who will be talking about her life as a single mother and how she has been able to pull through life with resilience. And her name is Siju Fatono. Welcome, Siju, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
Thank you, Faye. I really appreciate you welcoming to this space.
I am so excited to hear from you. I'm looking forward to listening to you today. Before we go into the topic, I'd like for you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Awesome. So like you mentioned, my name is Siju Fatono. Okay. I am based here in Calgary, Alberta. I've been in Calgary for about 13 years now. Oh, wow. Prior to moving to Calgary, I lived in Edmonton, Alberta. So I've been in Canada for quite some time. I am a single mother. I have 3 beautiful Black children, and I love my children very much. I'm a career professional. I'm an entrepreneur. I like to also say I'm a community builder as well.
I'm not sure how I met. I remember how I met you, but I know that you do human resources. And that's one of the things that got us talking. We met through Pastor D, right?
You know, I actually don't remember the first time we met.
It's Pastor D. These, there's this gathering of ladies that we used to do.
Okay.
I think that's where, Pastor D's house. Okay. That's where we met. So can you share a little bit about your background?
Yeah. So I like to say that, of course, my professional aspect, I'm a human resource business partner. Work in the oil and gas industry. I have about 14 years of HR experience and have done many different facets within human resources. So that's my forte, my day job. I love helping people, the challenge that comes with being in the HR field. And then the other aspect of me is I'm a community builder. So I founded a nonprofit organization about 4 years ago called Crown Mentorship Foundation. And the whole the whole initiative of Crown Mentorship is really to provide mentorship opportunities for Black professionals, Black entrepreneurs, and Black students. So I'm very passionate about
Black.
That's
and
right.
Then I noticed she said 3 Black
Beautiful.
kids.
That's right.
All
But I
right.
mean, it's a balance because within Crown Mentorship, we do recognize the importance of allyship. We're not walking this path on our own. So there is a role that non-Black people can play within our organization. So that's where my passion lies. There's my career piece, but then there's a community aspect of what I do that I get my passion from. I'm a mother of 3, so I'm very busy. All my children under the age of 12, actually. One just turned 12 last week. So a 12-year-old, almost 10-year-old, and then a 5-year-old.
Wow.
So they keep me busy.
Full hands.
Full hands. They're all in different life stages as well. So, it's certainly, it's an interesting, being a parent, being a single parent. It's very, very interesting, very dynamic, very challenging, but also very rewarding.
Oh, wow. I can imagine. So what were the biggest challenges that you faced?
I think the biggest challenges that I faced was,
earlier on, like when you became single.
I would even take it maybe just before that instant. I would say was probably the anticipation of knowing that I would probably be walking that path based on a decision that, nobody gets married with the plan in mind to not have that continue. So, but I think there was a time during that process where it was a really clear reality that it could happen, but it was almost like this fear of thinking that how are you going to do this, right? And can you do this? Right. And it's a real fear.
It's a valid fear.
And it's a lot of times why people don't make certain decisions.
And they stay in there.
And they stay. Just, I think that would probably been one of the earlier thoughts. And then once you get over that fear, actually, I'll tell a really quick story. I remember a pastor of one of the churches I was attending at the time that said something to me about fear and about, the aspect of taking a decision regardless of fear and knowing that God would have your back and that there was faith there to guide you through, but really don't making a decision based on fear alone. So,
And then you made the decision.
And then the decision was made. So I think now maybe going back to the biggest challenge, I think once I kind of got through the realization of the fear, it was the day-to-days, like just being a single parent. I'm sure if there are some watching that are single parents can attest to the fact that it's the physical strain, the emotional strain, the financial strain, and the burden falls on the one person. So it does. Meanwhile, life continues. Kids develop. They still have to go through their lives.
Everything.
And then you think about the impact on them and trying to make sure that they can overcome those challenges as well too. So I think the biggest challenge is just knowing that it's difficult.
Just one quick question. Is their father involved in their lives? Or this all rests on you?
It's solely on me, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And that makes a huge difference, actually. It's sometimes these things are not obvious until you walk the path.
Yeah.
Right? Do you have a support system in place?
I do.
And if so, how did they help you during tough times?
I think we don't do life alone. Even in situations where, you're not a single parent and you're a parent, you can't do life alone. And the support system will look different in different phases of your life. So certainly, yes, I've had several different support systems that have come in different times, different needs, different ways, even people that may not have known that they were support systems, but, were. So that looked for me personally, my family, my immediate family, my rock, my mom. Mothers are are different
Yeah.
beings.
Yeah.
So I certainly have a lot of respect and gratitude towards my mom as my support system, my brothers. So family being one, close friends. You know, I like to say I keep my circle close.
Okay.
And the types of friends that I hold dear to my heart may not be people that I see on a regular basis, but they're people that, you know, I can call on and yeah, when that time is there and they're there for you and they show you. So definitely I would say the support system is key.
So someone, I think I was having a conversation, or was it I'm not sure where I heard this, but we call them the 3 a.m. people, the people you can call, like something's going on at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And you call them and, you know, there's no excuses.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
there,
Oh, yeah.
you know? So
People
it's always,
come to my mind when I think about that too.
you always need people who are, you know, who can be there for you that way.
Yeah.
Like 3 a.m. people, we call
Absolutely.
them.
Yeah.
So what were some habits or strategies that helped you stay resilient through all these troubles?
So I would say for me personally, I learned a lot about myself through this process. I mean, I'm still learning a lot about myself through this process, but I learned that strength doesn't necessarily, you can't really see strength. A lot of times people will say, oh, you're soft-spoken or you look soft, but then they don't know the strength behind it.
Yeah.
Right. So I grew my superpowers. My faith in God helped a lot tremendously. But certainly, yeah, there's a lot that I'm still learning through this process.
Yes.
Yeah.
So any habits or strategies?
Yeah.
specifically?
So specific habits, your mindset is very critical in this. So keeping that positive thought is so important.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get into the negative and start thinking, well, why is this happening to me? The shame associated with it alone.
Stigma and all that.
Exactly. The stigma, what will people think? People will cultivate truths that are not truths.
Yep.
So I
They
think
don't know you and they just
don't
judge
know
you
you. Exactly.
just because they think you're single. Yeah.
Exactly.
Tell me about it.
Right. So I think just having that thick skin, to know that, you know, I think one thing that's helped me a lot is I know my truth and I don't need to scream it from the mountains, but I know my truth. And in the end, you know, we will all be judged on whatever that truth is. And so just having that clarity to say, okay, I know what's truthful and not to get sucked into the judgments or the shame. That would be one. But particular habits is just really focusing on the positive. You know, I look around, I see my beautiful kids. I, you know, try to immerse myself in what they're doing and making sure that one of the biggest things for me was I wanted to ensure that they didn't see themselves differently. Yeah. Because there's a shift that happens, right? When you go from being in a family home to exactly, right? And I didn't want that for my children. I wanted them to, you know, still be able to participate in things that they would normally do and not necessarily feel that financial burden. So I had to grind. Right?
I know it's not easy. Like,
right.
Because sometimes, you know, even right now I go to the store and I do grocery shopping.
Yeah.
And I'm like, people with 4 or 5 kids.
It's actually
how
ridiculous.
do they survive? How do they eat?
Yeah.
You know, when I came, I've been in Canada for about 9 years. And those days, if I took $150 to Costco, I'd have a full cart.
Now it's 800,
but now,
700, 600.
It's so, I don't know, how have you managed financially?
Do
you do anything on the side?
Well, so I would consider, I think one of the pillars was having my career, I have to say.
Yep.
Throughout all of the changes, the one thing that remained consistent was my career. Okay. And I think for me personally, and everybody's walk is different, I'm forever grateful for the path that God has, you know, put for me. Yeah. And my career has really been a source of benefit. Financially, stability. And even through the career, there's been shifts. Like that happens, life still happens and it takes you off your course. But the education, the knowledge that I've gained over the years in the career that I've had has really helped me to get, good roles, good promotions through. And and then as far as getting, working on the side, I didn't have to do that. Get a second job or take a part-time gig. I don't have any good crafting skills. So I can't make hair or bake.
Do all those things.
I couldn't do anything. My own is my head, right?
Yeah, and HR guru.
Exactly. So but you know what, Faye, that's a very good point, because I thought to myself, as far as creating a business, what would I do? I don't want to go and do something that would be completely off mark to what I do.
Yeah.
I truly believe that if you already have skills that you're born with,
use them.
Use it. So I did open up a consulting company, but that only happened in 2023.
Okay.
So we're talking 5 years after my journey had already started. So it didn't
And you still run it right now?
I still run it right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, I still run it right now, kind of on an ad hoc basis. My main focus has been the nonprofit. Ironically enough, I'd rather not make money than make money, right?
Just
with
to
consulting.
make people or just meet their
the
needs
passion.
or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
I see so much more value in the nonprofit and can only split myself in so many ways. And right now my focus is into building the nonprofit to where I think it can self-sustain, and then maybe I can step back and focus on something else. Yeah.
That's nice. So how do you balance work, personal time with kids? How do you do that? Because it's all you.
Yeah. I think I'm still figuring out, Faye. I'm not going to lie. It's tough. Work does take a lot of time out of our days. Then it only leaves you with so much time left for home life. Then, of course, if you now have added things, now keep in mind, my kids are in activities, so I still coupled with their schedule.
How do you split yourself into soccer or whatever?
Exactly, soccer, art, dance. So, and they're all different days of the week.
Wow.
A couple years ago, I had a coach through my work at the time.
Okay.
And it was probably one of the most valuable experiences for me personally. I haven't since got a coach. It's costly.
Coach
and I would
for life?
A life coach, professional coach, but it was offered through my work.
Okay.
But I tell you, it was so valuable. The skills that I took in that, I think it was about 18 months long, where I had I've got you 3 different coaches within an 18-month period. But they taught me so many skills. And one that I still utilize today is knowing that you cannot fit so much into one day. And you got to spread it. Pick your priorities.
Yeah.
It's the simple things. It's the basics, right? What's a priority right now? Setting proper goals. Have you put right timelines to it? In the beginning, I would set goals that were completely unachievable. But when I looked at it, I said, well, who am I really trying to prove to here? And it was myself.
Yeah.
So when I had that realization to say, this is me setting this bar, why am I doing this to myself? So, just doing that work to realize what is your priorities and what can I put aside, because some things will need to wait.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not the right time. Yeah.
I'll just share a story. The house we lived in Nigeria was a little bit big and we had sections. And then when I got married, I would want to clean the whole house. Every day, clean top, bottom. After a while, I told myself, I'm like, Faye, you'll kill yourself. If you clean this sitting room this week, clean the second, you have to, sometimes it's out. I feel like initially I wanted to prove to myself that I could do this.
Yeah.
And it's to myself. It's not like someone's coming in to check, right?
Yeah.
But just to myself. And I'm like, okay, if you don't want to die, you'd better, do this, maybe this week and this that week, so I can relate.
For me, I think I'm so much of a perfectionist, or, the boxes all have to be checked off. So it's hard when you have that innate feeling to then realize that it's okay that balls drop.
Yep. Even here, I'm like, sometimes it's okay that the house is even dirty sometimes. You're a human being. It doesn't have to be, it's fine.
Absolutely.
Tell us about a time that was really difficult and how did you navigate through that?
Oof.
And then you felt like, oh my God, maybe you never even thought you could get out of that.
So I can give two examples, but maybe I'll start with one first.
Okay.
I would say, I think back to that fear piece, right? When I talked about feeling this element of fear of, could I do this? How am I going to do this? Have to start all over again. 3 kids. Keep in mind, I had 2 at the time. I was actually 8 months pregnant.
Wow.
So like, there's so many things happening. And I think overcoming, even though I'm still walking it, so I can't really say I've fully overcome. But when I look back to that me who was scared, the person then that was scared of moving forward, thinking that I was going to fail at it, and then seeing what I've been able to accomplish in such a short period of time, we're only talking 5 years. And where for others who are not in the same predicament, may not have even accomplished that.
True.
Right? So when I look at that and I say, that is a huge accomplishment for me personally. And it does make me feel happy. It makes me feel like I'm setting a good example for my children, particularly like my girls, even my son, right? To say that, you are able to overcome. You might not have dealt the right hand, but you can still overcome it by making smart decisions, by having faith in God, having a good support system, and, believe in yourself. And it's going to be tough, but, that you don't need to take the easy way out, whatever that could be, right? Yeah. And don't be afraid. Yeah, exactly. Like, don't sit in it for the fear of the unknown and yet be
suffering.
Exactly. Exactly.
Don't suffer because you're afraid.
Correct.
Like, take the plunge anyway. Especially if it's what you think you need. Like, for example, if you were not happy in the marriage, and you want to stay there because of fear.
Correct. And there's so many different complexities, and everybody different walks of life, whether it's, like you said, unhappy marriage, maybe it's love lost, or maybe it's abuse, or maybe there's so many different scenarios. But one thing that I would like to emphasize is that fear, whatever it is that's keeping you from being happy, being safe, being fulfilled, once you get over that and you kind of put one foot in front of the other and you keep moving, you'll be, the light is there at the end of it, right? So that would be one piece. But like I said, I'm still working through. I think the other thing, when I look back, maybe more recently, about a year and a half ago, I had a career change that was not to my decision. In the HR world, I think you know exactly what that means. And, it rocked me.
Wow.
It wasn't a good situation based on, what was happening. So it's not like I was surprised, but it still came out as a very big shock because of the way it happened. It was poorly handled.
Wow.
So it wasn't great. It was a horrible situation. And, that's where I really had to pull on my faith again, because I'm like,
How did you manage through financially?
Well, so again, remember I said I would say I've been privileged being able to stand on my career. So it wasn't long after that happened that I literally landed my next opportunity, although I still had to wait to start, but I had it in my hand. But going through that process, probably about a period of a month to about a month and a half, it was a lot of up and down, like in the days, because you're replaying things and you're thinking, right?
It happened to me. Was that 2022? And the funny thing is, and people may not know, I was let go in January 2022. And, I'm like, I always do well. I'm always, how do I say this? I'm not the one that's let go, but
I know what you mean.
Sweetheart, it can happen to anyone. And to think that we had some kind of performance review 2 months prior, and my supervisor was like, "Oh, I have no problems with you. You deliver, and then this comes 2 months after." And I'm like, "Where did this come from?"
Correct.
And I'm like, "Okay, what exactly is the reason? No reason.
No reason.
I think sometimes it affects your morale, it affects your
Your confidence.
confidence,
Your trust.
you're second guessing yourself and wondering, where did I go wrong? What did I, especially when there's no reason,
Absolutely.
right? So I understand what you're saying. And good thing, where God works, the same day I was let go, I applied for a job. And 2 weeks after, they were in a hurry to hire.
Look at that.
I started a new role.
And
And I
that's-
was earning times 2
There you go.
of what I was
There
earning.
you go. In very similar situation, in that same situation,
Yeah.
was let go, no fault of your own. Great reviews,
Yeah.
bonuses,
I
like
know.
everything from an HR perspective.
yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
yep, this is good. And then, the shock of it all. And in all honesty, without going into the specifics around it, I think that my approach, being transparent, being accountable, being honest, was actually what did me wrong, which you would think
Okay.
wouldn't
Which
be
is what should be.
what you're supposed
Yeah.
to do. But unfortunately, things happen. But in the blessing of all of that is that you're right. The very next day it happened. Of course, I can't just be down in the dumps. I'm like, okay, need to find a job.
Yeah.
The very next role I applied for was the role I landed. Not only that, had 2 offers that I could pick from within a week.
Wow.
So it was, so a lot of times, and I tell people this, you don't know why you're going through certain things.
Yep.
The blessing that comes outside of
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
is
true.
sweeter than what you're going through. Don't be shy to go through it. Don't let that fear stop you because of the blessing that you're waiting for that's yours at the end.
So, can you share a story of a proud moment? Something that you're really, really proud of, where, and I know you've been saying, you've been, talking about a lot of things, but something that really stands out and you're proud of and you're able to achieve, where maybe other people may not have been able to, achieve. Something that stands out.
Okay. So something comes to mind. Hopefully this hits the mark, and if not, I can think on something else.
Sure.
I think back to when I first formed my nonprofit.
Okay.
Timeline, I'll paint the picture. It was 2020, the middle of the George
COVID.
Floyd.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that was actually the catalyst for
right.
me, because prior to that, I've always wanted to do something as far as how to impact our community, particularly using skills that I already have. So not having to create something else, but also that I felt would be of value for people to help themselves. So not giving handouts to at least equip people with knowledge so that they can help themselves. Okay. So that I've always wanted something like that. And then in the midst of the George Floyd situation, the idea of forming Crown Mentorship Foundation was then born officially. Now, early in that journey, of course, I had the opportunity, and I was able to meet with some more reputable, one particular organization, I won't name names, based in Calgary. And I was so excited about the opportunity, because I was like, great, I'm new at this. This is probably a potential partnership opportunity. But then we get in a meeting, and really quickly I realized that this was not one of those meetings. In fact, it was actually, their goal was to intimidate me to stop Crown Mentorship.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here in Calgary.
So,
Oh my God.
and that, it really disappointed me, because it's another Black facing organization, a Black facing organization. And, it was just one of those situations where you're like, you're caught off guard, because you're like, we should be partnering.
Yeah.
Why, there's enough out there for all of us. We can still succeed at doing, funny enough, we weren't doing the same thing, but we're, I guess, impacting the same people. And my argument had always been, the more of my organization that are out there, the better. Can't carry the whole, everything on one, right? That's not smart.
That's weird.
Right. It was very weird, very disappointing. So, that could have easily sidetracked me. And in fact, it actually did demoralize me, because it was so early in my,
Journey
of Crown. And one of the things that they tried to do was even make that as the reason as to say why. Well, you don't know what you're doing. You just wake up and decide you're going to start a nonprofit. And is this a pet project? But it gave me fire. It gave me fire to not fail. And I tell you, in that last 4 years since that discussion happened, I took the opposite approach.
Wow.
And in that time, we've been able to impact many people within our organization. We've been able to receive funding. We've been able to have partnership opportunities with
I
other.
saw some scholarship.
Correct. We currently have a scholarship program for post-secondary Black students here in Alberta. And I thought, if I had listened to that individual then and given up the fight, given up my passion, what would have been the result? So I think the resilience in me to know that not everybody's advice is the advice that you need to listen to, and that sometimes people have their own intentions in mind. And another thing is that they may look at you as a threat instead of a partner. Whereas I came in as thinking as a partner, and not everybody sees things in the same light. So I had to brace up and, put my head down and get to work. And so I think that would be for me. When I think about resiliency, I think about not getting so brought into the negative and keeping your eyes focused and going.
Yeah. So how did you feel? Because, you're a single mother. You're still trying to juggle things. You're trying to juggle work, juggle time with the kids, time with yourself. Now you're starting something else.
Yes.
How did you just stay motivated about this? Because I'm sure it'll be like, oh my God, do I have time for another thing?
Yeah.
How do I how did you, what kept you going?
Yeah, it was overwhelming in the beginning. I think imagine. As any entrepreneur, I would say you almost want to accomplish so much in the beginning. You have so many ideas and, the passion is heavy at that time. So you put a lot forward there, and then you can burn out fast, right? That's why a lot of times, I think I saw statistics that say most businesses don't last past 5 years, especially if you're, it is sole company and you're the only entrepreneur doing it. It's tough. You burn out if you don't pace yourself, if you don't do things, if you don't work smarter instead of harder, right? Yeah. So I think thinking back to your question is how did I manage? It was tough in the beginning, starting the nonprofit around the same time that I started my journey as a single parent, by the way, raising then 2 kids. And then at the time, actually 3 kids, but my youngest was basically a newborn. I think he was maybe 6 months.
Isn't it tougher?
Yeah, there was a lot happening. And then
wow.
But, I couldn't, like I said, the idea was burning before that time. That period was just a catalyst, right? So once it started, I couldn't turn it off. But I learned in the first, I'd say 2 to 3 years of trying to build something. There was a lot of rework. It did take time to find my balance, meaning, not overworking myself. Remember I talked about setting appropriate goals, realizing that, who's actually the goal setting this right now is myself. So,
you for you.
Exactly. So, there was that piece, that work I had to do to then find my rhythm. I think I found my rhythm, but there are moments where, as priorities come, whether it be within my work as a career professional, because that challenge is there. I'm in a leadership type of role, supporting leaders. So I have a lot on my plate at work, then having to balance the nonprofit, and we're running scholarship programs and planning a gala, still running a full-fledged programs, trying to get funding from, building partnership relationships. Writing grants.
Oh my
exactly.
God.
So that in itself,
that's no easy feat.
right? And then your children on top of that, right? So it's tough. And I think I'm still constantly trying to figure it out. And sometimes some things win. There are some non-negotiables, I'd say. Of course, I would say my children would be a non-negotiable. If they need me in a critical state, everything drops away, and that becomes my priority.
Wow.
I'm thankful that my work is somewhat flexible. So, and they're also very accommodating. As a single parent, that's very important.
Wow.
To be able to balance changing schedules. Bus pickups. Oh, this one's sick. Come pick them up. You know,
and it's only you. Right?
Exactly.
There's no option.
So having that again, I see that as a blessing. Having a blessed career where I can be able to lean on that for a form of a support is also important. And then with the nonprofit, as a founder, you get to pace it.
Do you have any help? Do you have volunteers?
Yes, for the nonprofits, yes. We do have a full-time program coordinator.
Okay.
And then we are a working board. So our boards are pretty much roll up your sleeve and they're all in. And then we have volunteers for peak events.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
But it didn't start that way, right?
I know.
So
you
that
had
took
to find your and it'll take time.
It takes time to build that. Yeah.
Wow. We have you can only imagine, like some of these things, you only imagine them. You don't, how do I say, you may not understand the depth of these things until you actually walk the path. And Siju, you could have just sat down and said, oh, I already do HR. I don't need to do something extra. I mean, it's enough managing 3 kids alone. You understand? So it has to be, you have to be strong-willed, or you have just this very strong passion for people, because it's a not-for-profit or non-profit, whatever they call it here. And you still go ahead to do this. So I feel like it's strength, it's strong will, which is good. And you could say ambitious as well, you know, and which is really good. And okay, I have this question. This is a twist from, you know, what we've been talking about. Your kids, do they ever ask questions? Like there's something happened in school and they say, oh, my friend has a dad and a mom.
Yeah.
Where's my dad? I know they probably know their dad or whatever, but you know, but he's not around, he's not present.
Yeah.
So how do you manage things? Do you get those questions, and how do you manage, how do you manage them?
Let me pause and think. Do I get those questions maybe directly? I would say no. Like in my situation, kids knew their dad, except maybe the youngest one, because I was, 8 months pregnant at the time. So, it's interesting because each of them were in different, age as well plays a factor. So I can anticipate future questions, maybe perhaps from the youngest, because he's just 5, but kids are very smart. So there is that self-awareness, they see, well, I live with my mom, grandma comes around to help. And so they know kids are smarter than, that we know. And the schools, it's interesting. There's family dynamics are so different. When you look at schools itself, there are a lot of kids that are also in same positions. Yeah. Right. So they see it as well. It's become almost, sadly to say, a bit of a norm, right? Or maybe it shifts. Maybe there's another co-parent, like a family unit that now comes in, and relationships change, and then there's step kids. Yeah. There's so many different dynamics. So I think when I think about my own kids particularly, I try to lead them through honesty, but also where they're at within their age, right? There is such a thing as oversharing for kids. Yep. There might come a time when they get to know more. There might come a time when, but maybe this is not the right time. Yeah. So I think just balancing out where they're at.
Okay, so each person gets a different story
in a way, based on
how
where
much
they're
they
at.
Comprehend.
Correct. Yeah, like how I would converse with my 12-year-old would be very different than how I'd converse with her 5-year-old brother. So just understanding that is in itself, you have to change your dynamic. And I would say one of the things that I really strongly believe as a single parent, particularly a single mom, is to never talk bad about the other parent in the presence of the children. Can be tough when you're also trying to be honest, because I mentioned honesty is also important, because I don't want to paint a picture where there's almost like this, everything was perfect. Well, kids again are smart. We'll be like, well, then if it was perfect, why didn't you? Exactly. So you got to find a balance of being honest without making the other person, because that's still the father at the end of the day, right? So that's very important. It's tough to do because then you're stressed. There's pressures, there's all these things that are happening, and you don't take it out on the kids. That's one thing I would say.
I just imagine, look, how do you do homework for the first one, for the second one, for the third one? And it's different kinds of homework. You know, like if there were two parents, you'd be like, oh, meet your dad today. Or I don't even know this. Some maths they'll bring, you'll be like, come on, please give your dad this one.
It's true.
How do you manage things like that? And those, they're seemingly simple things, but
it's so true. In those moments, those are where I think I would say it's kind of the low points. I can stand here and say, things are great, it's resiliency, and you got to do this, and everything's going to be perfect, and you'll be happy. It's tough. Those are the moments where you're like, oh my gosh, it's tough.
I know.
I think I probably had one of those moments this week. It's back to school. Tomorrow, kids go back to school.
Wow.
And I'm prepping for that. I'm having to drive, buy this, and go do this. And do you have this
and
uniform?
For the three of them.
For all three, different stages. Junior high, middle school, now kindergarten. I was stressed at the end of it. And then work. Yeah, I did it after work. At the end of it, I was just like, I was so overwhelmed. And it's those moments come. They do come. They come in different stages. The busyness times of our lives is when I feel those moments the most, where you're like, wow, walking this life as a single parent is very tough. Yeah. So that part, it's there.
Well, it's just an encouragement. It's a phase. It'll pass. There'll be times that they'll grow. Like the oldest is 12. Before you know it, she's in school, maybe off somewhere.
Yes.
Hang in there.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to share with people out there? Any single mom saying, oh my God? And like you said, lots of families, it's almost like the norm. I'm sure someone wants to be encouraged by you today.
Yeah.
Something you want to share with them?
I'd say if there's single moms out there or maybe even women that are in situations where they're, like I spoke about, in that state of fear of making the decision or knowing that there's this pending decision, is that life doesn't end in that moment.
Yeah.
And life does continue. And you do have within your ability, within your capability, everything within you to pull through and do better. I know that that's what I needed to hear in that moment.
At that time.
Just that reassurance that this, like you said, the phase will pass. Yes, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy, but there's so much blessing. In my case, there was so much blessing. Different situations may cause it to be different, but particularly for me, there was so much blessing that came with moving forward.
Releasing yourself from that.
Yeah.
And so I know a few people who find it difficult to ask for help. They'll just, what's your experience? I know you said you have your mom, you have close family, friends. Some people just feel like, oh, I don't want to bother the other person. Meanwhile, people are there, they're available. Like, all you have to do is ask, what has your experience been? And what do you want to share with people?
I think I'm not particularly good at this in the sense that I don't like bothering people.
Okay.
And I think I'm kind of one of those people where I'm like, I don't think I'll be a burden to so-and-so, or if I call now, will that, put more on their plate? But then at the very bottom where you're like, I cannot do this. I need help. Swallow your pride. If it's pride, in my case, it was just this feeling of bothering people, and ask for help. Make that phone call. Just say yes. If someone asks you, how are you doing today? Don't have the common answer to say, oh, I'm good. Meanwhile, you just spent like the last 2 hours crying. Right? Like, really say, you know what, I'm actually not doing good. And let them then open up. You can then create that space to be able to share. One thing I also say for people maybe on the other side of the fence is extend that hand. If you see that people are going through something, don't just kind of be like, oh, one of the things I get frustrated when I hear people say, oh, you're so strong. I don't know how you do
then
it.
it ends there.
And that's it. You know what I mean? And you're like, okay. But if you see that, things are tough, just say, how is it going? How can I help?
Yeah.
Concrete ways. Like, I just picked up dinner for you. Here it is, or something.
Yeah.
Do something that's practical beyond just, oh, you're so strong, hang in there. When if you're close enough to the person to know that they need a little bit more than just a verbal reassurance. Sometimes they need actual like tactful help.
Or just bring your kids over this weekend.
Yes.
Or something. If you can afford it or you can accommodate it. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
I have one last question, and this has to do with love.
Oh gosh.
So how open are you to try again? Do you have PTSD? How does that affect you moving forward?
Hey, this one was not on the list.
You have put our secret out there that there's a list. Oh my God.
That's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's a reality. I became a single parent at the age of 32. I was married at 24. By the time I was 32, officially I was a single parent. So,
and that's young.
That is young with 3 children, right? So I think that there's phases where don't just go and rush for the next relationship because you feel like I can't do this by myself. I need to find somebody else. That's not. You'll land into another relationship that's probably with the same unhealthy habits that got you in your first relationship. You'll get it again. So for me, I wasn't in any hurry. And I, would say I still am not in any hurry to quickly rush to find the next relationship. Open. I am in a committed relationship currently.
Oh, nice.
Though not a marriage, but it's a committed relationship. So yeah, definitely I'm open.
Yeah.
Keeping yourself open is important.
It's important
once you're ready, right? Because
no PTSD, like, oh God, I wish this doesn't
there's
happen
always,
again.
I mean, but it's important to do the work, and it's important to maybe learn from your past mistakes. So maybe there's particular traits that those red flags you should have
that you overlooked at the time.
Now you go in, you're looking.
But now you're more mature anyway.
You're more mature.
Like, my eyes open,
right?
No love is blind.
Exactly. So
love sees.
Exactly.
Okay.
But of course, you're gonna carry some hurt from the past, and it might impact how you take certain decisions. And I think for me, one of the things that I learned about myself is I had to quickly depend on myself. So that becomes a problem when you try to get into a relationship where
you're too independent.
You're too independent. You know what I mean? You have yourself figured out. You're working. You're making your own money. You take care of your kids. What can you do for me, right? But I had to try to find a way to bring those walls down to be vulnerable again.
Okay. Thank you so much, Siju. It's been just a beautiful conversation. Lots of insights. And remember, any last words? I know you already shared some advice. Any last words for single men, single women, friends and families of single? Anything you want to tell them? And we already told you a little bit. Ask them. Don't wait for them to ask. You ask. You offer to help is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I would say, again, the strength is there. You can do so much more, irregardless of your situation. Everybody has different walks in life. For some, it might be health issues, right? If it's your situation is being a single parent, you can still overcome any situation, right? So I truly believe that. I try to live my life knowing that and accept challenges as they come and go through it with the support system that I've developed.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure discussing with you and then learning about you, learning from you as well. Thank you everyone for sticking to the end of this episode. I hope you've been able to pick 1 or 2 things, learn 1 or 2 things, and even understand that you're not in the struggle alone. Please like, comment, share, and thank you so much. We will meet on the next episode of Live Couch with Faye. Thank you, Siju. Bye, everyone.